Welcome to one of the most thrilling between the lines fueled by Gatorade I have ever been a part of. My name is Gabe Henderson. I'm alongside Ben Leber. And Ben, thrilling is an understatement. I know I started out with that. How do you describe a team that's down 23-10 with a minute and 50 left in the third quarter that goes on to win 33-30 in overtime? Like,
I don't know. The crazy thing is, like, we keep hearing KOC talk about how this team is resilient and whatever. Does anybody have a stronger word for that? Because I just don't. This game was wild. It was bananas. It's one of the craziest emotional games that I've ever been a part of. I just got done interviewing head coach Kevin O'Connell, and as excited as he is, he's also equally drained.
Yeah.
He looks emotionally drained.
Yeah.
He's obviously personally had a long, last week to 10 days with the birth of his fourth child. They go on the road. They've got a lot of questions from the national public about how good this team is. Right. Is this team for real? And they come in this stadium against what everybody's saying is the Super Bowl contending champs. Like, they should be in the Super Bowl and then win the Super Bowl. And they've got, for all intents and purposes, a healthy team. And they go out and come from behind and win like they did.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I talked to a couple of the players in the locker room, Andrew DePaula, Vikings long snapper in particular, and he said, I have no words. Like, this is just a wow moment. And then Ryan Grigson, assistant general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, said, games like this are what championship teams are built for. What about this game makes this Minnesota Vikings team a force to be reckoned with going forward?
Because they can make plays whenever they need to make plays. They ran the ball only 8 times in the first half. If you watch the film of this Buffalo defense in the last 2 weeks, they're averaging giving up 191 yards on the ground.
Yep.
The Jets and the Packers just put it on them.
Yep.
So they go in this game in the first half and run the ball 8 times in the first half, and you're like, what are they doing? Did they not watch the film? Well, they tried, right? There was some opportunities there. There was a botched toss to Dalvin. They had a couple negative yards. Hats off to the Buffalo defense for stepping up and stopping the run. We didn't back down. We didn't get away from the run game. We stuck to it. Dalvin goes off and has a career-long 81-yard touchdown run. And then he had some huge chunk yards. Finished with 119 yards on the ground. They just find ways to compensate when things aren't going well, or when the game plan isn't going well. They stick to it. Stick with the run game. Then you get Justin Jefferson making unbelievable catches from unbelievable throws by Kirk Cousins. Defense, we're not very good in the red zone.
Yeah.
We give up a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. We were three of 6 in this game with 2 interceptions.
Yep.
So when we need to make plays, we're making plays. And they make us sweat while they're doing it.
But as long as that turns into a win, I'm sure all Minnesota Vikings fans are happy about that. My paper with my notes just flew away over to my right. But at the same time, when you look at the stats, none of the stats really matter outside of this Minnesota Vikings team won, and they found ways to win. Justin Jefferson, you just talked about him, 10 receptions, 193 receiving yards, most 100-yard games by any player in NFL history in the first 3 seasons of his career. This was by far Justin Jefferson's best game. What did he do this game that made him so much more dynamic than the last 20 100-yard receiving games?
I think the trust factor that is being built up so high with he and Kirk that there's multiple throws, and maybe you can't see it from the TV copy, but there's multiple throws where Kirk is he's thrown it before he's out of the break.
Yeah.
He turns around, the ball's in the air. He may be well covered or even double covered. He elevates and makes a play.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's so much trust and confidence that Kirk's like, all right, if I'm going to get a little bit of pressure, or if it's a third and got to have it, or a play where we got to have it, I know Justin's going to be there to make the play. So I'm just going to put it up to him and see if he can go out and make the play. And then today he was ridiculous. I mean, he made every catch.
I may be too far ahead of myself, but I hear a lot of people talk about the Allen MVP chats. Everybody saying he should be the MVP.
Yeah.
Well, he's had 6 turnovers in his last 3 games.
Yeah.
And then you look at Kirk Cousins finding ways to win. You got Justin Jefferson, who's just having big games. Both of those two guys have to be making a strong case for MVP. Would you agree?
No, I would definitely agree, because you look at MVPs are not always about stats.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to look at who has the most yards, who has the most touchdowns. It's critical making plays. It's difference making plays. It's clutch plays.
Yeah.
Josh Allen today was not clutch.
Yeah.
He was clutch on the ground when he needed to run the football. And I don't want to take anything away. He's an impressive player.
Amazing.
He's
Yeah.
one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
But you're up against your own end zone, and all you've got to do is just get the ball out and advance it a little bit. He fumbles the football.
Yep.
He almost loses the game for those guys. Then he comes down. They tie the game up, but he throws a red zone interception to Patrick Peterson early in the game. He throws another one when they have to go down and try to win the game. So you look at the difference-making plays, the clutch plays. That's what MVPs do. It's not about padding stats. It doesn't have to be sexy. I think if of the two players on our team, Justin Jefferson has to be in that contention for MVP.
Speaking of the number 2, Patrick Peterson, 2 interceptions today, like you just said. He's making a case for Hall of Fame at this point. How would you just assess just his play along with the defense that held this Buffalo Bills team to 3 points in the last 2 quarters?
Well, obviously the defense stepped up. We didn't get a lot of pressure in the first half, almost zero pressure. Yeah. We had no sacks. All the 4 sacks came in the second half. Again, Josh Allen used his legs. He's a tremendous athlete. He's able to get out of trouble, but we found ways to get to their edges of the offensive line, and we made plays when we had to make plays, and then we made Josh Allen and that offense have to press. Going into this game, if you watch their film, they get very impatient. He gets very impatient. He wants to make the play. They're all about just quick dink and dunk, West Coast style, but then he gets impatient. He wants to force the ball down the field. That's when you have to make the plays. Patrick Peterson did just that.
Why do you think he gets impatient in those moments?
Because I think he's used to always just making big plays.
Okay.
I think he gets all this adulation for making the big plays. He's got this, 65, 70-yard cannon of an arm that he can get the ball downfield. I think that they get really impatient because he wants to just be that guy. He wants to be the superstar that's making plays. Their offense is sort of predicated on some of those big explosive plays. He knows that's their identity, and he wants to hold true to it.
Yeah, and this Buffalo Bills team are a really good team. They're going to continue to win games, and I'm so happy that the Vikings got this win. Going into this game, everyone was talking about, well, this is going to be the 3rd time in 4 weeks the Vikings have faced a backup quarterback. The Vikings prepared for Josh Allen all week, and the fact that they got what they wanted and they got a win, that says a lot about the resilience. I know you don't like that word at this point because it's not strong enough.
It's just not I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure out a better word for that. I'm just using what coach used.
They won.
Yeah.
That's all that mattered. But we got to talk about the next 2 games. This game tonight marks the first game in 11 days for this Minnesota Vikings team. Tough stretch. Dallas Cowboys up next. As we record this, they're playing the Green Bay Packers. What do we need to see from this Minnesota Vikings team to continue this momentum?
Well, I do think that we need to establish the run a little bit more and a little earlier to find a little bit more balance. Gosh, I would really like to see better red zone defense. Even though we got some big plays, we have to be better about not letting the teams down there. Sometimes it looks too easy for the teams just to pick up some chunk yardage. Next thing you know, they're right down the red zone.
Yeah.
And then it's at least at minimum a 3-point opportunity. So I'd like to shore up some of the defense in the middle of the field. Force a few more punts, and then offensively just find a little bit more balance. I don't think we should always realize on Justin making some incredible plays.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it for me. It's not a lot to nitpick at.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of weapons. We're winning games. Just make it a little smoother and a little more consistent.
We talked all week. Can the Vikings play up to the level of competition, 1? And 2, can they finally put together a complete game? Today was the closest they put together a complete game, and they still have a lot of meat on the bone. Ben, I'm excited about these next 2 games. 2 games in 4 days, starting with the Dallas Cowboys next. Man, we're 8-1.
We're 8-1.
And we're having fun.
8-1, having fun, answered like you've been talking about, answered a lot of questions. This team is a legit football team. This is not a team that has been opportunistic because of other teams' injuries or other teams' mishaps. This is a legit football team. They should feel proud of that, and let's keep rolling.
Hey, Vikings fans, we got 2 primetime games in a row at home with the Dallas Cowboys next week at 3:25, and then Thursday night football on Thanksgiving. Pack that dome, pack that house at US Bank Stadium. We're looking forward to getting back there and getting another win. For Ben Leber, Ryan O'Neal, Christian Rangel, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you guys again for tuning into another the 7th straight winning edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade.